Hey, what's up? So before the release of Season 8 of Fortnite, I thought what we would do is another Apex Legends video. You guys seem to really enjoy the last video, so today what we're going to be doing is taking on the impossible task of ranking every single gun in the game from worst to best. Keep in mind that this is not a final list, a complete list, and really not even necessarily a correct list. It's just more my opinion mixed with what you guys voted on. You guys voted on the survey, I took those votes, ordered them, and then slightly adjusted them just as how I saw fit. So a little bit of your opinion, a little bit of mine, and really the point of this is just to get a conversation going about the weapons. We just had the Havoc newly added in, so it's good to see where that fits amongst everything, and in general, just get an idea of where everything fits. Anyways, let's do this. Alright, so coming in at our number 20 spot, ranked as the lowest weapon in the game, I think this should come as no surprise, it's gonna be the Mozambique. Now, the Mozambique didn't get the least amount of votes, but this is one of those times where I'm going to adjust it slightly. I think the general community definitely agrees that the Mozambique is the worst gun in the game, and possibly that even it's the worst gun in video game history. It's really bad. Getting gameplay for this gun was it was a real nightmare. Anyways, the Mozambique did get 930 votes, mostly troll votes, I'm assuming, but yeah, it has to be the lowest gun. Now moving on to our number 19 spot, this is going to be the P2020. So the P2020 actually got the least amount of votes with 556, but again, obviously some people that voted Mozambique were most people that voted Mozambique were trolling. And I imagine a lot of people that voted P2020 were also trolling, but still, it's a bad gun. This is one of the few guns that where I spawn in and this is all I have. It's really a weapon that I feel like I'm going to get killed even if they just have fists. And really, I think fists are better than the P2020 and the Mozambique if used properly. P2020, not a good gun, 557 votes. And comes in at number 19. Moving on to 18, this is going to be the Alternator, actually basically tied at 556 votes. I think that it is slightly better than the P2020. Early game is the only time you're probably going to use either of these weapons, and I just feel like the Alternator gives you a better chance of getting that first kill. Neither are very good guns as shown by being the two lowest voted weapons, but at the end of the day, they're just both pretty useless. Now moving on to our number 17 spot, this is going to be the Devotion. So the Devotion got 906 votes, which again is another one of our small tweaks to this list. But I think that the Devotion is a little bit overrated as far as where people voted it. As far as your guys' vote, it would have landed at about 14, but there's one thing about the Devotion that I think makes it worse than most people care to admit. Energy ammo. If it was a situation of this weapon just having the same amount of ammo as something like maybe the Spitfire, I might tend to rank this a little bit higher, but I find energy ammo to be very scarce. And while the Devotion itself isn't that bad, when you have an energy weapon that shoots as fast as the Devotion, you run into the problem of needing to conserve ammo or just having to stack a ton. Early game, you tend to not have that much, and late game, again, you just have to carry so much of it that I just feel like it's not really an effective weapon. If it wasn't an energy weapon and it just took like light rounds, it might be a lot better, but again, to me, the reason I don't like this weapon is really just an issue of ammo. Moving on to our number 16 spot, this is going to be the RE45. The RE is a weapon that I feel like is a little bit underrated. I think people kind of tend to throw it into the group of like Mozambique, P2020. I think it deserves a better ranking than that. It's certainly not the best gun in the game, but early game, it's completely fine to use. I don't have any issues with this weapon. I don't view it as the best weapon in the game. But again, it got 601 votes. And I don't know. I think it deserves slightly better, but I'm willing to accept this position. And yeah. At number 15, this is going to be the Prowler. The Prowler got 635 votes, and I think that this was actually a pretty fair assessment. When you add on the auto fire attachment to the Prowler, it actually becomes a top 10-ish tier weapon. People really like this thing when you have the attachment. The problem with this weapon, though, is there is a single attachment in the game that satisfies making this weapon good. I really don't like the burst fire mode of this. I feel like that's why it got placed where it did. It's good when it's fully auto, but in most cases, you're going to have it as a burst, and I just don't think it's worth carrying around in the hopes that you'll find that attachment. Now moving on to our number 14 spot, this is actually going to be the new energy weapon, the Havoc. So as far as votes go, the Havoc got 786, which I think might be a little bit high. probably just because it's a new weapon and it got a bit of hype. But I wouldn't say that it's an unreasonable placement. I find the Havoc tends to be not as bad on ammo as the Devotion is, but it still is a bit of a concern for me. I, again, won't pick this weapon up because of the ammo issue, unless it's just early game and I have to. That being said, early game, it's a fine weapon. I don't think it's particularly great or overpowered. Ultimately, I would say it's kind of disappointing for being a new weapon added in. I haven't seen anyone really talking about how good it is, so I think 14 is a decent spot for it. Now, at number 13, this is going to be the Flatline with 913 votes. The Flatline is a good gun, but not a great gun. As an assault rifle, it's not something that I really love to carry around, but it's certainly something I can make do with if I have to. That's really all I have to say about the Flatline. It's just a very average gun. Now, moving on to our number 12 spot with 1,085 votes, this is going to be the Hemlock. Okay, so these next 4 spots are kind of going to be out of order in the voting spot, so if you disagree, let me know. But just hear me out. I like the Hemlock. That's like the first weapon on this list that I'm like, okay, this is a good weapon. It's a very accurate burst rifle that even in close quarters can be used to kill people. Overall, again, I would say the first solid gun on this list. Now, moving on to our number 11 spot, this is a weapon that I feel like is completely underrated. It only got 645 votes, but I'm putting it, again, at 11. This is going to be the Triple Take. I'm not sure if it's because of the OP-ness of the Wingman or what, but I really feel like this is an overlooked weapon. It's the only energy weapon that doesn't need a ton of ammo, so you don't have that issue, and it's really good. 57 damage, awesome for a sniper, and it feels like it's just a weapon that lands a lot of shots. I noticed a trend that the snipers just really seem to rank quite low on this list in general. But I think the Triple Take is a very underrated gun, and I'm putting it in at 11. That's just my opinion though, so let me know what you think. Now, moving on to top out our number 10 spot, this is another sniper, and this is going to be the Longbow. Now, this is a choice I'm a little bit hesitant about. Just like the Triple Take, I think the Longbow is very underrated. I personally prefer the Triple Take, but the Longbow got 840 votes versus the Triple Take's 645. Again, honestly, just a very underrated sniper. I feel like a lot of the community doesn't give snipers a chance, but man, if you just sit back long range, if you're accurate, you can devastate people with these two guns. So again, underrated weapons, and they come in at 11 and 10. Now, moving on to our number 9 spot. This is a weapon that I think gets a lot of undeserved flack, and it's the EVA 8. So the Hemlock got 1,085 votes, and this gun got 1,054. So if we're doing this list by the actual voting, the Hemlock would be 9, and the EVA 8 would be 10. And I'm, again, just putting the EVA 8 at 9. I think the thing with the EVA 8 is it's really outshined by the Peacekeeper, which a lot of people consider to be the best gun in the game, but that doesn't necessarily mean the EVA 8 is bad. You have to land your shots, but I mean, it's really not that difficult to just land 2-3 shots in a row and easy knock. It's very good early game, and even late game, unless you're really playing against a Peacekeeper, you can do well. Or, you know, a Massive, that might outplay you, but still. I think the EVA 8 is a very underrated weapon, and more so, I think the Peacekeeper is not for everyone that wants to use a shotgun. I think it's an underrated weapon, and again, I think it deserves its spot at number 9. Moving on to our number 8 spot, this is going to be the R99. The R99 got 1,245 votes. I look at the R99 like it's the R301, just a little bit worse. This is an SMG, the R301 is an assault rifle, but to me, the two weapons play very similarly. The R99 feels like it's on the far spectrum of SMGs, and the R301 feels like it just takes that place where SMGs turn into assault rifles. Overall, I really like this gun. It's not my favorite, and I would certainly always take an R301 over it, but I mean, 1,245 votes, you can't argue with that. Except I'm going to. So again, this is just another single swap. The G7 Scout is our next gun on the list. The G7 Scout got 1,123, which is why I'm saying it just a little reverse, but hear me out. I think the G7 Scout is, again, quite an underrated weapon. To me, this is the weapon that I see a lot of people not talk about that I feel like I personally shred with. The thing with this weapon is it's very versatile. It's decent at mid-range, but you can even start to get out into the long range if you get a 4 to 8 scope on it, and I think it just works in a lot of scenarios. It is a very solid weapon, and I think it deserves its spot at number 7. Now, moving on to number 6, this is going to be the Spitfire. The Spitfire got 2,207 votes. You really can't argue with that. The Spitfire is a very good weapon. 20 damage a shot, very devastating. And the thing I find with this weapon is not only is it good early game, but once you get late game and just like, you have someone with 200 health, you can just shred their armor. That's really what I like about this weapon. It just feels so solid for taking people out. You have so much ammo in the magazine. It's just a solid weapon. I actually wouldn't have ranked it this high, but the community seemed to really like this one, and it comes in at number 6. Now moving on to number 5 with 2,286 votes. This is going to be my beloved R301. Really, I think this is just the most solid gun in the game. It's consistent. It's like your classic assault rifle, shoots fast, good damage rate. Core solid weapon. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like this gun. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great weapon. Apparently not the best, but number 5. Now moving on to our number 4 spot, this is going to be the Wingman. This is the first weapon that I've seen people starting to talk about being overpowered. With good reason. 45 damage, 90 damage per headshot, even at range, is quite ridiculous. The Wingman does a similar amount of damage to something like the Longbow, but it just shoots so fast. And if you're accurate with this weapon, you can absolutely shred. Personally, I'm not that good with this weapon, but there's no denying, one, how much the community likes it with 2,514 votes, but also just seeing people do so well with it. This is a weapon that I wouldn't be surprised if we see some nerfs coming in the next few weeks, but as of now, it comes in at number 4. Okay, so we're down to the top 3. 2 are the gold supply weapons, obviously going to be the 1 and 2 spot. So technically, if you don't want to look at those, this number 3 spot is really the number 1 spot, as far as the normal weapons go. And coming in at the number 3/number 1 spot, this is the Peacekeeper. The Peacekeeper got 4,021 votes, which is really surprising coming up onto the next 2. But first, let's talk about the Peacekeeper. It's really good. 100 damage to the body, 165 damage to the head. Can't really argue with that. I would absolutely agree with this. I think it is the best non-supply drop weapon in the game. The community obviously voted right on this one, and I don't think this is anything to be surprised about. All right, so we have 2 weapons left: the supply drop shotgun and the supply drop sniper. The Craver, the 50 cal sniper, got 725 votes, and the Mastiff got 1,563. This is one of those huge flaws in that survey section, because no way in hell is the Peacekeeper better than the Mastiff. The Mastiff is literally a tier above the Peacekeeper. So the obvious flaw with this survey that I'm willing to admit, and why I kind of moved a few things around on this list, is because I think not everybody knows what the Mastiff and Craver are. Because they're supply drop weapons, they're not something that people regularly use, and I imagine a lot of people voting on this list may have never even used them ever. With that being said though, they are without a doubt the top 2 weapons in the game. Anyways, let's rank them. Coming in at number 2, this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm sticking to my guns on this. I think it is the Mastiff. The reason that I'm gonna put the Mastiff at number 2 is kind of related to the number 1 spot. It's the fact that I think the Peacekeeper is good enough on its own. Obviously, the Mastiff is really good, and you're never going to not take it, but the stretch between the Peacekeeper and the Mastiff isn't that big. 110 damage to the body versus 144. It's significant, but not majorly significant. The thing though about the Mastiff and where it really starts to shine is headshots. Peacekeeper can only do 165 to the head. The Mastiff doubles with headshot damage, giving it 288 to the head. It's one of the only one-shot kill weapons in the game. But the Craver is better. And ladies and gentlemen, coming in at number 1, it is, of course, the Craver. Now, how can a weapon that only got 725 votes on this list be the best gun in the game? Well, let me try to persuade you. There is no weapon that even comes close as a long-range gun to the Craver. That's why this weapon stands out. Like I said earlier, snipers really seem to be undervalued on this list, and shotguns certainly were overvalued. Maybe not even overvalued, but again, I really think that people don't see the value in snipers. 125 damage from range is astonishingly high. The closest ranged weapon is 67 with the triple take. With 125 damage, you're going to be devastating most people who probably only have blue or purple armor, and maybe even just completely dropping them if you have a team landing a few shots on them. There's no weapon that competes with this gun. And going back to the Mastiff, there's no argument that these aren't the top 2 guns. The reason that I think that the Mastiff shouldn't be number 1 is that the Peacekeeper is close enough to that weapon. There's a decent alternative to the Mastiff. It's the 3rd best gun in the game, and it's the Peacekeeper. But at range, there's just nothing that competes with the Craver. There's no other bolt action rifle that's even landing like, maybe 80s or 90s. There's just nothing even close to this weapon, and it is a god. Obviously, lack of ammo with both these weapons is a bit of an issue, but you're only going to be using this weapon late game, so I really don't think that is a huge issue. In my opinion, when I use it anyways, I feel like a god, and while the Mastiff is good, I don't think it's as good as the Craver. But with all that being said, this is like 50% my opinion and 50% your guys' opinion. If you disagree, let me know. If you're also new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. We're gonna have some Fortnite content coming on Thursday. Other than that, let me know also if you want more Apex Legends content. I really enjoy making these videos, even though obviously Apex isn't as popular as Fortnite. But yeah, your comments are welcome. Thank you for making it all the way through. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.